The, the topic of the episode is organization, but I'm not that organized.
Well, I wasn't prepared to lead. I had some ideas, but it's cool. We can roll with it. It's fine.
That's what we always do anyway.
Don't forget, you can find Dr. Lauren on Instagram at Club Fitz Fitness with a Z, on Facebook at Facebook.com/Dr. Lauren Fitz or Facebook.com/Club Fitz Fitness. You can find me, Cinthanie, on Instagram at Cinthanie, that's CINTHANIE, or on Facebook at Facebook.com/The Girl Boss Daily.
Hello and welcome to the Fitz and Healthy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauren Fitz, and I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Cinthanie McAllister from Cinthanie.com. What's up, girl?
Hey, girl. Hey. Hey, people. Hey.
Okay, so today's episode, we're going to talk about all things that have to do with organizing your freaking life.
Yes.
And I know that the person that's listening to this episode is like, wait, what does this have to do with being Fitz and healthy? It has everything to do with everything.
It does.
But before we get into this great episode chock full of awesome points, we need to give a shout out to our iTunes review of the week. And why this is so important, it's because this is how people find us, y'all. Like for real. If we didn't have so many iTunes reviews, we would not be searchable. But you can literally go into the iTunes search thing and type in FIT and Z already shows up, and Fitz and Healthy is one of the first things. So you guys, to continue to be more easily searchable, we appreciate you subscribing, hopefully leaving a 5-star rating and leaving some words of feedback. And maybe we get to choose yours and
shout you out.
Exactly. So who's shout out this week?
All right. So this iTunes review of the week is called Literally Life Changing, and it is a 5-star review. And this is from MN Mirth 1. And it says, I have been following Lauren for about 5 years. I became a coach on her team in March of 2016, and she was a catalyst to me changing my whole life around. 60 pounds lighter now, I cannot thank her enough for her sharing her insight with the world. She is so real, authentic, smart, caring, and humble, and I'm a better person for simply knowing her.
People that are not watching on our YouTube channel, I'm doing a happy dance. I'm doing a happy dance with chills, of course.
always.
60 pounds. That ain't no little
that's
feat.
That's a lot. That's a big deal.
Yay. Well, thank you guys so much for that review and all of the other reviews that haven't been read, because, man, we appreciate you guys greatly. So, okay. Organize your life. Let me just tell you that this episode comes at a perfect time, because I just got back from traveling, and then I got back only to be welcomed to having an out-of-town visitor come. So literally, when I have out-of-town guests come, and not whether they stay with me or not, I tend to drop everything so that I can focus on them and make sure that their time in California is awesome, right?
Yeah,
and so if you were to look at my room right now, I'm going to go take these points that we're about to make in this episode and go apply it to my home, because it's not organized. I'm just going to be honest. But organization is important because it really does affect everything, right?
Like being fit and healthy is more than just exercise or nutrition. Like it's all encompassing your quality of life, and your environment has so much to do with that. Everything. And that's why we're going to talk about it, because you need to get organized. I definitely needed to get organized. And that's why we're going to talk about it, because I'm putting this out there and also reiterating this information to myself so that I will continue to implement it.
So let me ask, because this was your idea for a topic. Yeah. Was there something that made you like, okay, we got to talk about this?
Well, okay. So
what happened was
so my husband and I are like, we're totally yin and yang. Like we're very opposites. He is the type of person that will like pick up around the house all day long. Like he picks up after himself, but he's not good at like scrubbing, mopping, dusting, like really cleaning stuff. He's good at cleaning up. And I'm the exact opposite. I'm like a mini tornado throughout the day. Like you can definitely like see where I have gone, because at the end of the day, I tell myself like I'll clean it all up, and then like I'll also mop and sweep, and like I like to like really clean stuff.
Deep
So
clean.
our cleaning styles are different, and so we hardly ever agree on it.
Of course.
And so I told myself one of the things that I wanted to do this year was really get rid of clutter, because every time we have moved, like you just purge a lot of stuff. You just are kind of forced to, and we haven't moved in 3 years. And so over these 3 years, we have accumulated quite a bit of stuff, I feel like. And so I've gotten to, I think, a lot of really big breakthroughs mentally for myself. I've made a lot of progress there, and in my relationships and in my business. I've definitely like stepped into my power in ways that I haven't within the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I could like, as you start to grow and go, you start to realize, just be more aware of the things that are toxic in your life.
Yeah.
And even though my environment, I'm not like a hoarder or anything, but like my environment could definitely use improvement. And so I went and visited my family a couple weeks ago, and my cousin is like a neat freak. Like you could probably eat off the floors in her house. Like
Oh,
she
wow.
is a
Okay.
neat freak. And so we were talking about it, and I was like, I mean, my house is clean. Like I keep my house clean, but it's not organized. It's not decluttered. And there's definitely a difference. So even though my house would be clean, I wouldn't be able to focus during the day. Like there was just something cloudy to me. It was something like just distracting during my work. And I know it's the clutter. I know it's the clutter. And so I came home and like my husband was like, I'm going to go to bed. Like I typically go to bed the same time he does. And I was like, I started cleaning something. Have you ever read that book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie?
No, I haven't.
There's this book that's called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. It's a kid's book, and it's like he'll want some milk to go with it. And then if you give him milk, he'll want a blank. Like it's basically like this domino effect. And I am like that when I clean. Like if
I'm
you
putting
give
it
me
into my Audible right now. I'm like,
it's a kid's book. I mean, it's super short.
So it's probably not on Audible. Okay.
No, it's probably not
Fair
on
enough.
Audible. It's
Fair
literally
enough.
like a children's book. But anyways, yeah, it's not some like earth-shattering personal development.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm like that with cleaning. Like if you give me like just if I start to clean something, I want to also scrub the sink, but then I'm also going to want to sweep the floors out. Like I can't do one thing.
Right.
And so one night my husband went to bed, and I just started kind of like cleaning out the fridge, and then I started cleaning out the pantry, and then I started cleaning out the laundry, and I just like went on this purge until like 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, no.
And then the next day woke up and I like made him help me like purge our closet. We got rid of 10 trash bags full of clothes and shoes and kitchen utensils and like just stuff that we just kind of had, but that we just didn't need anymore.
Yeah.
And it felt so good to like take all of that out, because I didn't even realize, like how much, like I said, your environment has a lot to do with your quality of life. And if you're not in a healthy environment, it doesn't matter what you are doing, just, nutrition wise or exercise wise. You have the biggest stank face right now.
No. This is me actively listening, just so you know.
She's got a Popeye look going on. Like one eye is closed, and she's like really listening to what I'm saying. If you don't watch the YouTube versions of these videos, of these podcast episodes, you need to go watch it. But anyway, so I basically just like dove into the nitty gritty, because my cousin and I had been talking about it, and I'm like, well, I keep my house clean, but like there would just be stuff that I'm like, well, I mean, it's not out, but it's also, even if it was put away in a cabinet or something, that doesn't mean like it's organized. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so my biggest thing is struggling with like organization. Like I can work all day long, but if I'm not organized, I don't know what I did all day long, even though I worked all day long. I'm not a good multitasker. I know that about myself. I can only do one thing and do one thing really super great. And so I had been putting off this like cleaning out our house thing, because my business was more important. Like I need to take care of my business because that's what pays my bills or whatever. But it's also like I wasn't taking my own advice on the fact that if I'm going to be all encompassing and all in on like living a healthy lifestyle, I had to take care of my environment. And so I took like 2 days, because like I said, I couldn't work and clean, because it just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I took 2 days of no work and just like purged my whole house. And I am so glad I did it. Like the house feels lighter is the best way to put it. Like the environment feels lighter. Like, you know how you can kind of feel like the
Yeah,
vibe of the
absolutely.
place? It
Absolutely.
just feels lighter and it feels lifted. And I don't feel this like mental fog anymore because the environment that I'm in is no longer
No,
disorderly.
yeah,
It's,
no,
you know,
100%. And actually listening to you say this is giving me angst because I'm not at that. Like literally, I was telling the person that came to visit, like, what I'm going to be doing. And then like literally after we get finished recording this episode,
you'll
I'm
keep
going,
you accountable.
uh-huh. And
Yeah.
it's because it's truly like, it's like a weight lifted off your shoulders when you are living in a state of organization.
Yeah. And the thing is like I had been holding on to things that like, you have those shirts that you promise yourself you're going to wear or like just things that you promise
And
yourself
the
you're going to
world's
use.
worst at that.
I am too. And every time I clean out my closet, I only get rid of like maybe 10 things. But like we have a massive closet. Our closet is huge and it is empty, which makes me so happy because there's
Yeah.
like not just stuff. Like we had like gloves or mittens for like snowboarding and stuff. We had like 10 pairs. I'm like, okay, there's only 2 of us. Like, why do we need 10 pairs? Like, and I told myself too, something that was really freeing when I did it was you hold the object. I can't remember who told me about this, but you hold the object and you say, does this bring me happiness? Like, does this object bring me happiness? If the answer is no, get rid of it. And I told myself too, like, these are just things I can purchase them again if I do need them. Like if I end up getting rid of it and I'm like, oh, I really need a plaid shirt, I can go buy another plaid shirt, but it doesn't have to be that plaid shirt that I've been holding on to, So
yes.
I think it has a lot to also do piggybacking on that we tend to become emotionally connected to things or the way our environment is because
sorry for that.
when we hold on to things even inside, a lot of times it manifests we hold on to weight because we're hoarding emotions or things that we don't want to deal with, skeletons in our closet, which keeps us
keep going. Go.
Which keeps us hoarding things in our actual closet too. Like for me, like I realized like I had a t-shirt from Tanner and I's prom and like that was so special to me. Like but I never freaking wear it. I mean, it's just, and I always promised myself I was like going to make a blanket out of it or something, like those t-shirt blankets. Yes. Like, but I'm like, Cinthanie, you have had this. Yes. I'm like, Cinthanie, you've had this shirt for 6 years, honey. You ain't never worn it. You married the man you went to prom with. So you still got him. And that's the most important thing. So you just let that go. Cause I still have the pictures, so I purged a ton of stuff because I had been working on my mental space though. I had been working on just like getting my mental space organized and taking care of the clutter and the weight that I have between my ears. Because when I was able, I have really like just had lots of openings within the past 6 months mentally. And because of that, I was in a state where I was ready to let go of the physical things that I was holding on to because I had like made peace with them mentally, And it's hard to even realize, like I said, I'm not a hoarder. Like I don't hoard stuff, but I held on to a lot of things that I didn't need. And letting go of those things is almost like it's just renewing. I feel like it just allows opportunity for other things to come into my life, and not even physical things, but just opportunity in general. I have cleaned out and purged things that I have been holding on to forever, which a lot of them were attached to experiences. And so now that I have let go of those experiences, some good, some bad, I feel like I have more room in my life to have better things come into my life, or like, how do I know if I'm holding on to this thing, but not something better is going to come along? Like, even with a pair of boots, like I had this pair of boots I've had forever. And I'm like, these are kind of beat up. Like I could get rid of these. And the best thing is I can go get new, better boots now. Like, you know what I'm saying? But not just in the physical, but also in the mental, like letting go and making peace with the things that clutter your mind subconsciously.
Yes.
I feel like allows you to be more open to opportunity and more open to newer, different experiences coming into your life.
So I'm sure you saw my eyeballs looking down because I was trying to find a book that is on my Audible account that I need to reread because it really is an amazing book. I don't know if you ever read it, but it's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And it's by Marie Kondo. So that's Marie. Last name is Kondo. And this book really is a great book. So I will put it in the show notes.
Okay.
But this woman actually, that's what she does for a living. She goes in and helps tidy up people's lives by starting in their home environment and then everything. And it's funny because, we women, we're so bad with clothing. Like that is where so many of us need to tidy up our lives. And that's where we need to start. So I realized that, that was just a side effect, a symptom of more than just the physical when I was going through divorce. When I was going through divorce in 2016, I was in Oklahoma. And for the people that are new to listening to the podcast and don't know my history, I essentially had 5,000 square foot house on 2 acres of land. And literally, I realized that I was trying to fill my life with happiness via things. And was in denial about how unhappy I was in my actual marriage. And while I'm not one that believes that your marriage should be your sole source of happiness, I do believe that your marriage should bring you happiness. And my marriage was not, hence why I ended it. One of the many reasons I ended it. But I had the realization that I was trying to fulfill my needs with essentially what turned into clutter to the max. Like literally my Lululemon, it was the amount of Lululemon I had, it makes me nauseous. One, because it's completely like how much of my money I wasted.
Oh yeah.
Trying to fulfill something that I didn't even realize it was my subconscious,
Yeah. Yes.
And two, just the living with so much stuff, whether it's organized in the closet or not, that's still freaking clutter that is weighing you down.
Yeah.
And you should just see my room right now.
But that's the thing is like, I'm definitely not done. Like my laundry room and my kitchen and my closet are all clean, but like I need to go through my attic. Because that's one thing. Like that is one thing is you may like purge one room, but a lot of stuff ends up in the next room because you took it out of that room and that room's great, but like now it's moved to the next room. So we got to go through that room and like push it all out. So all of it has kind of like, I feel like accumulated up in my attic.
Yeah.
And that is literally the space above me. Like that, I just feel like that's such a huge metaphor of the space above you in your mind. Like that's
Brilliant.
the place that you have got to organize the most because like I said, a lot of people hold on to things emotionally, including weight, because they're not letting go of something that is holding them back in their mind or that they haven't made peace with. And so for me, like I said, I didn't feel it. Take him to church. Go to church, girl.
Great.
But this is something I struggle with because for me, like I knew I've gotten to this is the best quarter I've had in business. And so I'm like, okay, what am I doing differently? Like what's going on differently in my relationships or my life or whatever? And like, I'm like, okay, if I'm in a good place now, what can I do to get to like the next step, the next level? And of course in life, new level, new devil. And this level, my devil is organization because I know if I could work as a better, well-oiled machine, I could do so much more and help so many other people. But my holding on to things mentally, emotionally, and physically, tangibly, was really getting in my way of allowing myself to get organized because I couldn't stick to a calendar. I couldn't stick to a schedule. I couldn't I would say I was going to do something that I wouldn't. And not because I'm not reliable, but because my disorganization would get the better of me. And then I was letting people down because of my own faults because I couldn't get my shit together. Sorry, but it's the truth. And so I started with that emotionally. And like I said, once you start to kind of peel back those layers, like what can you get organized? Like, what is it that we can clean out? When I started to pull back those layers in my mind of the things that I needed to make peace with and let go of and make room for new things to come in. Like I said, that's when I started to be more aware of my environment, because
Yes.
once you have, like I said, moved things out, you've kind of heightened your sense of what you're aware of and what you're open to. And my environment, I felt like my mental state was here and my environment was here. And because of the mental state that I was in, I realized that was like, now that I had eliminated my limiting beliefs, I needed to eliminate my limiting habits. And my limiting habits was just keeping stuff. Like my house would be clean when people would come over, but if you open a cabinet, I can't tell you where the pan is. It's somewhere in the cabinet.
It might
but
be
it
in the
doesn't have
oven.
a place.
It
may be in the oven. It may be in the pantry. Like, so I just needed to take it a step further, you know?
Yeah. And I definitely think that the title of this episode is going to be New Level, New Devil, because it's so true. But jokingly set aside, the whole purpose that is behind the Fitz and Healthy podcast is to help people get to a new level. And everyone is at a different level in life that's listening to this. And we might have some really high functioning people that, for the average person looking at them, be like, dude, you're like the epitome. But that person knows that, hey, I need to get to that next level. Because what's the opposite of growth? It's death. And I really want every single person that listens to this to realize that you should be growing in some way every single day. And if you're not, the opposite of growth is death. And, a flower that is not given water is dying. And are you feeding yourself water, or are you dying?
Yeah. And the thing is sometimes our growth isn't even for us. Like if I didn't recognize that my organization was causing me to have holes in my business and the people that depend on me, I probably wouldn't have done it. I wasn't reason enough for myself, but this growth wasn't for me. And that's what's kept me accountable. But now, like, I am definitely on the receiving end and benefiting from it. But at first, that's not what got me to that point. So maybe even having somebody outside of yourself being your reason, like, is you holding on to things affecting your relationship with your spouse? Like, is your spouse a super clean, neat person and you are a mini tornado like me? Like, does that affect your relationship? It totally affects Tanner and I's relationship because we clean differently. And so when you are that's your living space, your mutual area that you share. And out of respect for him, and like I said, out of respect for my clients and my coaches that I mentor, I needed to get my shiz together and get organized so that I can be better to pour into all areas of my life and to the people that are involved. Like I said, it definitely benefits me because now I'm in a different mental state. I feel like I have a weight lifted, that it's clarity. And I think for people that do hold on to stuff, whether it is mentally or physically, it is kind of their protective layer.
Yeah.
Like you surround yourself with things to fill the voids that are in you. Or you keep your mental space or you are holding on to memories or events or relationships in your mind, and you're not, because of that, you're missing out on present relationships or events or experiences because you're living in this state of clutter of things that you haven't made peace with. And so it's so much more than just cleaning out your house, but definitely cleaning out your environment mentally and physically, because your mental space, that's your mental environment, And like I said, with everything up in my attic, like you got to clean out the mental attic and the physical attic because it benefits from one another.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue to talking about mental organization, because I know that there's a lot of people listening that are like, okay, I hear you, but what does that look like? The mental organization is, one great episode that you need to go re-listen to is our episode about daily habits and the morning routine. I really think that the first place to start with organizing literally starts from the moment that you wake up. And, daily habits like making your bed, hopefully brushing your teeth is already a daily habit. But so what does mentally organizing look like to you?
I think that one thing that's really been a huge thing for me is processing what is currently real in my life and what is currently fabricated in my head. And what I mean by that is there have been experiences or things that have happened that I struggled to connect the dots, or I couldn't make peace with, or were things that I put aside because I didn't want to deal with it, because it's the dark, scary places of your mind that you don't want to go. But I have learned to address that and take that head on because I deserve the growth. I deserve to be able to move forward and out of those things because at the end of the day, like I said, they were either situations that had happened in the past that I didn't address and fabricated into something way bigger in my mind, or like I said, just being able to eliminate that space. I was really, for me, I was really struggling with. So in October, I lost my grandmother and my uncle within 2 weeks of each other, very unexpectedly. And for me, I was no longer present after that happened. I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't make peace with it. I struggled with it. And because of that, I wasn't present in my marriage. I wasn't present in my relationships. I didn't deal with it and address it. And instead, I just kind of like buried it away because I was like, no, I don't want to deal with it. Like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. But I realized that that wasn't helpful. It was harming me more than it was being able to admit to my husband, today is a hard day, just being able to let him in on that and being able to organize that and understand that like that's something that happened. And I honor the fact that I'm still grieving and I still have to deal with it. But I also honor the fact that I am still here and I still have people that I do love or relationships that I do need to pour into and do need to take care of. So really organizing your mental space, like I said, by the things that you have fabricated in your mind and what you're presently going through, like being able to separate the two, I think is huge.
And also I think being able to almost like designate a adequate time for different thought processes. You almost see it like your thoughts are like a calendar.
Yeah. Or even filing cabinet, like having a mental filing cabinet and knowing like these are the limiting beliefs that I have. They go in this folder that I never open and I never go to.
Yes.
These are the relationships that I have right now that are serving me. They go in this folder. My thoughts about that. Like, this is my business. Being able to identify that you're human and you're dealing with a lot of different things all the time. Like, our brain is amazing. It's incredible what we are capable of doing. Like, to me, I do not
or break you.
I do not question the design of our brains, right? So honor the fact that you're human. And it is sometimes hard to separate business with pleasure or past with present. But being able to have that mental filing cabinet of knowing like what categories these things go in and identify what you're feeling and be able to sort them is a huge part of how you are leading your life, your quality of life, and again, how you can deal with and not hoard or hold on to things that take up mental space, in your mind.
Girl, how are you so wise and mature for only being 24? I mean, I'm going to take this moment to just give you a shout out and props. I mean,
thank you.
Like if we were on Facebook Live right now, I'd be asking for hearts and so instead of hearts, I'm just going to ask the listener to be like, hell yeah, Cinthanie is a badass. Just say that.
Thank you. But I think that the reason why is because, and not to toot my own horn, but because I can organize the fact that I have a lot of processes that I go through all the time, but I share them openly because I know for me, one of the things that causes mental clutter for me is when I just power down and I just hold things in. I just hold it in. Like, I used to be a person that non-confrontation. Like, if you did something to me that bothered me, I'll never tell you. I wasn't going to tell you.
Shut up. No way.
Exactly, right? And now you know that, like, out of respect for you and myself, I want to talk to you about it. I want to talk through it with you. And like, because I care and I want to work through it, because it's not worth it to me to hoard that, because it literally makes you mentally sick, which can cause you to be physically sick and can cause your environment to be a hellhole or whatever, So it's all encompassing. Decluttering and organizing your life in general is more than just the physical things around you. It's a mental space too. And you have to become friends with the monster in your mind. You have to be able to sit down and have those deep, scary conversations with yourself and be able to pull those tabs out and put them into the right filing cabinets. Because if you are not a master of your mind, nobody else can be. Nobody else knows what's going on in your mind. And if you need help doing that, seriously, I think therapy is a huge, huge thing. It's a huge thing that can help you get organized because you're taking the conversations that you're already having with yourself, but you're just basically letting somebody be referee for you.
I mean, that last little 1 minute blurb needs to be on a meme somehow with quote by Cinthanie McAllister. Not even lying. I know.
Someday.
Truly, it's one of those things. I almost feel like our emotional status can affect our organizational status.
It can.
You know, and just angst from whatever's going on can lead to a disorganized mental place, and that obviously manifests into disorganization in your life, and clutter in your life, disorganization in your life just leads to the inability to do so much, the inability to reach your maximum potential ultimately.
Totally. Yeah.
It limits you from becoming more fits and healthy every day.
It's all encompassing. It's
absolutely
all in. If you are going to do life, it's not just the calories that you count or the workouts that you do. You have to be all in and all in on your journey and your process, and understanding that it looks different for everybody. But ultimately, there are so many more elements to living a healthy and fulfilling life, and fulfilling your purpose or your potential or who you are and your abilities, depending on what you allow to be debilitating, or to allow you to stop you from fulfilling those potential, or helping those people, or sharing a message that you have. I believe that every person has a purpose. They do.
Absolutely. 100%.
You're not just here to be a wife, or just be a doctor, or just be a husband, or just be whatever. Like, you have so much more than that. I think each person has a design message that they're supposed to share, and whether they tap into it or not is up to everybody. But I think one of the parts of being able to identify that is surrendering to your better judgment, surrendering to the fact that you are human, and exploring what that means. Accepting the fact that I'm human, and sometimes that means I hold on to shit that I don't need. But also recognizing the fact that I'm powerful, and I can be more powerful when I remove the things that weigh me down, whether it's mentally or physically or emotionally or whatever it may be. So I just encourage you to be all in on your journey, to lean in to just working on the parts of you that scare you, whether it's your habits or your thoughts. Like, just lean in and be open to changing those things and taking them head on. Like I said, you have to become friends with the monster in your mind so that you can deal with your environment physically and mentally.
So to the listener that is listening to this, it's like, oh my gosh, you girls are talking right to me, but I don't know where to start. What would you advise them?
So I think that one of the things that, especially people my age, but just in general, we self-soothe with never having any kind of quiet. There's always music on, or Netflix, or YouTube, or Instagram stories, or podcasts, or we never take time to be in the quiet. We always have to have something like entertaining us. And I think a lot of times that self-soothing is because we're scared to be in the quiet. We're scared because that's when the monster in your mind meets you, is when it's quiet and you have to be alone in your thoughts. And so for me, exercise is that's my time that I'm fighting out my mental monsters, is in my workouts, because I am physically working to do something or change it or deal with it in my exercise. Like, that is how I manifest my problems and like deal with them, get rid of them. Like, my exercise is my church. Like, that is that is my place of dealing with my things, right?
Yes.
And so I really think that allowing yourself, you have to be okay with the quiet. You have to embrace and lean into the quiet, even if it means going on a drive and just parking yourself and just allowing yourself to explore those places in your mind that you don't dare ever go, that you cover up with music, or you cover up with conversations, or whatever it may be. And identifying those, and a huge thing is personal development, because those conversations that you have with yourself, they're scary and they're hard and they suck. But it hurts more to hold on to it than it does to approach it and deal with it and work through it. And something that has been a huge change for me is personal development, because personal development taught me how to recognize I'm human and I have things that I need to deal with. We all are hurting at some level or some way. And it's different for everyone. You may be hurting with different things or different processes or whatever it is. And not only being able to identify that, okay, these are my struggles, like being able to admit that you have struggles and that you have things that are hard is a huge part of the process, and being able to eliminate it or work through it or identify what it is you need to work on. So personal development is a huge, huge thing, because it gives you the tools to be empowered, to be brave enough to face the hardest things in your life, which is your lifestyle and your mental space. You know, your lifestyle, like I said, is the things around you. Like, if you have been a hoarder all your life, that's literally a sickness, something in your brain that's making you do that. And you have to address what the root of it is and work through it. Or If you're disorganized like me, I am Tornado Cinthanie, Hot Mess Express. Like, but I don't want to be that way because I know that I can serve more people or serve my relationships more if it means that I can take care of that disorganization, which is so hard for me to admit. Like, so hard to admit that that's my downfall because I'm like,
Yep.
but I'm not a gross person. Like, I'm not a messy person.
Mm.
Like, my house isn't gross. Like, those are just the things that I need to work on. So I think allowing yourself time to be quiet and really allow the monster in your mind to come and meet you so that you can talk it out and work it out with yourself, and listening to personal development so that you can have the tools to be able to go through that process and be okay.
And you know what the one thing is that all of those points have in common is self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ultimately at the end of the day, for us to be our very best selves, we have to learn to love ourselves. And that sounds so cliche. It also sounds so easy, but it is not. And self-love looks different at different stages, yet it looks the same. Because you addressed the millennials, what it looks like for people in their 30s, and most people in their 30s are in the parent stage, and they're putting everyone else but themselves first. Like different stages look like different things, but it all comes back to, man, you have to love yourself, and that comes with actions, and it comes with you really prioritizing you above everyone before just like I get tired of making this analogy, but it's so true. The flight attendants telling you when there's a drop in cabin pressure, who do you put the oxygen mask on first? You. Before you can help anyone else, you have to take care of you. And
Right.
and it for so many people, self-love starts with organizing your thoughts and your life so that you can literally get on the road to becoming a better version of yourself.
Yeah. You don't know how to fix a problem if you don't know that you have it. And if you
Mhm.
don't allow yourself time to figure that out or identify it, it will just be like, you'll just be like, but this is just who I am. This is the way I am. But it doesn't always have to be that way. And
No.
sometimes it's little things, like little habits, like waking up earlier, or it doesn't have to be this big grueling like process with yourself. But even just starting in the little places, like making your bed in the morning, or allowing yourself maybe 15 minutes of quiet time in the morning, or whatever it may be, just little steps in your process of allowing yourself to get organized and declutter the things that no longer serve you, the relationships, the people, the memories, the objects that no longer serve you, and eliminating that so that you allow room in your life for relationships that do serve you, or objects or things or experiences or people that are beneficial to you and this stage of your life. I think that that's something that people hoard and try to hold on to, the stages in their life where they feel like they were at their peak.
Yes.
And they can't get back to that. Like, so many people, I always hear them talk about their college stories, like, oh, back when I was in college.
Right.
Because that was like their peak. That was their peak moment. And for me, I want to be committed to being able to say yesterday, calling back on yesterday or last week or today, instead of like
Gave me
back in the good old day. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to know that I don't peak. I never want to peak. I want to keep climbing and exploring and building and strengthening and going through that process, because if not, what else am I doing? I'm sitting weeks and months and years. Right. I'm sitting weeks and months and years wishing I was back in college because that was the best time, or wishing I was back in high school because that was a good old time. Like, no, I want every day to be that good old time, and that time that I can call back on and like appreciate and celebrate.
That is going to hit home to so many listeners. It's not even funny, because so many listeners can relate with that. Oh, you are chock full of goodness today, my friend. I mean, chock full of goodness.
But as I get more organized, who knows what else is going to come to the surface? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Like, I know that if I get myself together, I can better serve the people around me that I have committed to helping. And I don't want my shortcomings to get in the way of me helping people on their journey or helping people through their process, just because I've stopped moving through my process.
And it's not if, it's when.
Exactly.
And it all goes, it all goes to mindset. And I definitely believe that this episode is going to be a game changer for many people. And I know on the surface, the moment that people hear it's about organization, they're going to be quick to, but realize that this is an episode that really can change your life. without a doubt. So we end every single episode with the most important message that applies to every single person that listens, no matter how old you are, what stage of life you're in, whatnot. And Cinthanie, will you close us out, please?
You are a good person and you deserve good things to happen to you. And that means good quality of life in all areas.
All areas. Amen. Amen. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Fitz and Healthy podcast. Make sure that you follow us on all our social media. Go subscribe. Hopefully leave a 5-star review and leave us a review, please. We appreciate you greatly. Until next episode, have a Fitz and Healthy day.
Make sure that you find us on social media. You can find Cinthanie on Instagram and Facebook at Cinthanie. So that's CINTHANIE, and on Snapchat at Cinthanie P. And find me on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Club Fitz Fitness. Remember, that's FITZ Fitness. And on Snapchat, just at Club Fitz. I appreciate your time listening so much. If you enjoyed this episode of the Fitz and Healthy podcast, can you please go do me a favor and go subscribe at whatever platform that it is that you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. We read every single review and we appreciate the time that you take to leave your thoughts and opinions. Now, also remember, while I am a medical doctor, the information I provide here is not intended to provide medical advice or a professional diagnosis, opinion, treatment, or services to you or to any other individual. I am providing general information for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for medical or professional care. You should not use this information in place of a visit, call, consultation, or the advice of your physician or other healthcare provider. The information I share is not intended to treat, cure, or diagnose any disease or medical condition. If you believe you have a medical emergency, just call 911 immediately or your physician. Now, enough of that medical legal jargon. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate your time. Now, go live a Fitz and Healthy life.